right, hey guys, Sam here with you on Thursday, August 9th. And today we're going to mix things up a little bit. I just thought we'd poll the members, let them choose what was going to get analyzed today. So upon that polling being in, I've got two candidates today that we're going to look at here. First up is EOS to the dollar. So I've got it up here on Bitfinex. This is the 8-hour, the 480 minute. Now, I've got some work on this, and we'll get into that in a second. First point I want to make is just twofold here. So, looking at this, we've had two 5-wave structures and sequences here complete, all right? And then these very deep retracements after it. Now, I don't think it adds any value here to try and connect these two. It doesn't help us over here. So I would not be thinking, 1, 2, 3, 4, say some sort of a diagonal. I wouldn't be thinking about it. I just see 5 waves up, correction comes down. 5 waves up, correction comes down. So there may be in the future some rational reason to try and connect these two, depending on where we pivot down here and what that looks like. But I don't think it adds any value. So everything that I would be doing would be relative to this swing low, this swing high, and what's happening over here. And then, of course, first question it will be, does this swing low hold? So one thing I did think was worth pointing out here, if we go back to this relationship here, and I just work from my absolute low here, and I go up to my pivot high, well, that's kind of interesting. I can't explain it. I can't tell you why that's happening there, but I promise you that's not random. So that some algorithm took some profit there, but look where we've gone. Right? So from swing low from low to high, and then coming down, we went through the 786. Seems somewhat of a random location here, and then I started pulling here, looking for anything here. I couldn't find. Maybe you've got working off of this pivot here, so it could be that you had this being an influence here. So it looks like a front run here on the 50, and then perhaps a slight front run on the target that would cause that. So for nothing else, you got a hot box down here where you had some technical confluence where you might expect a reaction. Again, just speaking purely from the algo perspective as to how they end up tagging that target here. Again, I can't explain it. So is this an algo that just stayed long? Hard to know. Hard to know what's going on there. But that, again, I would promise you that's not random. So with that little conundrum established, I don't think, again, it doesn't help us over here. So let's pull some of this off here and see what we can see. Well, now, it's not that there's no value here. So we certainly can take the absolute low to the absolute high and see where we're coming in. Well, we've just tapped the 786. Not inconsequential, and we seem to be running into this prior pivot high up here, maybe offering a little structural support. Again, but as we dig into the wave count, this does not appear to be finished to me. So I'm not looking for this to be the pivot low before we start moving back higher again. I just can't get a count here to support that position. Now, doesn't mean it can't happen. It just I don't see any rational reason as to why we'd be looking for our pivot here. I think there's a 4 and a 5 still to go, and then yet on a larger degree a 4 and a 5. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't see any reason to be a buyer there just yet. I can't put together enough confluence here to support the idea that that's a reason to be buying on the idea that this is some sort of a very elongated, elaborate diagonal that we're putting in. Although it's possible, right? Could be happening. That's not how I'm going to approach it. What I see is from this coming down here, we've got the 3 dominant pivots. We've got a nice clear A, a B, and a C, and all the subdivision to go with it is quite good, actually. So let's go down to the 2-hour here and just get a look at it before we dig right into the hard right edge. See if we can make sense of this coming down. Can we get a count here that works and fits and would create a scenario here worth considering. So from this pivot here, we've got pretty well established. I can get a 1 down. I'm not going to dig that out for you here, but we can get a 3-wave B here, although we have to subdivide. So we get an A, a B down, and then the C for our 2. And then we get a 1 here, A, B, C into my 2. And then I can get, again, coming down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into my third. There's my 4. We come down for a 5. So I've got a completed impulsive structure here, no threat to the one wave. So off of that 1, 2, I get my completed 3, A, B, C into my 4, and then come down, finishing a 5 and giving me a completed A wave. All right, well, from that A wave, then I get a very easy to spot A, B, C going in here. Let's just lower that degree here and get this all sort of lining up here where it makes sense. Okay, so there's a nice A, B, C. All right, so I've got an A, B, C into my B, and then it looks like I come down, and again, I've got another very clear, clean, impulsive structure to give me a pivot down here. Now, ideally, right, if for the bull case, this was the pivot we wanted for a long, because we had all the symmetry we wanted. We have nice subdivision here for an A, subdivision for my B. We finish 5 down here. So you're thinking at that point, oh, possibly my C is in, and off we go. Well, that's not what we get. We roll over yet again. So how else to count that becomes the question. Well, if that's a B, we got to finish it in 5, and it would appear that all we've done is put in a 1, which that would imply much lower prices. Bad news for bulls. I don't know how else to organize this, right? So this looks quite so allowing for this 1, 2. Now, well, here's the question mark where this would have to allow for an extremely shallow second wave. We're less than 10% of wave 2s going being that shallow. But, can't ignore the 5s. I can't ignore. That's a completed 5-wave structure. So what's left? Well, it's either we finished there, that was A, B, C, and we were finishing, or we've got another A, B, C going in, or we're going into a complex correction or some sort of a combination. But right now, 5 down with a retrace and then another 5, what would appear to be another 5 underway. That suggests to me that we've got more to go. Now, we may come back here and do some relabeling if we were to start to get bullish off of this and we had a 5 come off of this. Something like that developed. Well, now we got to rethink things. But right now, that seems less likely. What looks to me is that this has to complete. So fairly clear 1 here. Got a good 3 coming down here. This is, we measure it here just to go through that process here. So there's my 1, 2. Well, we've gone past the high probability zone of the 1618, 175, a little past the 200. Maybe it's the 786. Maybe it's that prior pivot kicking in, prior resistance offering support. I don't know, but that sure looks to me like I've got a 1, 2, 3 going in, and then another 4 set up to be established here. Now we got to keep in mind that our third wave can't be our shortest wave. So as I lay it out here, so as you see me sort of offering this potential roadmap, so if we were going to get a little A, B, C into our 4 and go down here for a 5, well, let's think about what that would mean. This would be much shorter than the 1. So it's not uncommon to see an extension in the 1 if we're just going to continue carrying on here. And you can imagine why, right? So we thought this could have been our C to give this that nice symmetry of an A, B, C. We finish in 5, off we go. If this is going to roll and keep going down, it's not unusual that we may end up with the extension in the 1 wave. But what that means, if this does complete here, we've got to be paying attention to the length of the 5th relative to the 3rd, right? So we know that no matter what, the 3rd can't be the shortest. Doesn't have to be the longest. It just can't be the shortest. So given the length of that 1, the shallowness of the 2, I would be expecting for the 3rd to be shorter than the 1st. But we got to think about what that means relative to the 5th. So in terms of when we'd be looking for a potential pivot and a place to be a buyer, well, that's going to be relational to what the length of the 3rd ends up being, and then where we sit with that 5 relative to the 3rd on the assumption that the first wave will be our extension. So a lot of that is just projection, and we're hypothesizing what's likely to come. We don't know that, but that's what I see here relative to where we sit. So my anticipation is that the next trade here is on the short side. So if I grab from my 2, get it here down to my 3 low, right? So we'd be looking for that 4 in this range here. So this is not an unreasonable spot to be looking for some resistance here. So we have this good pivot down here that happened to be the wave 1 low. Now, it's not relative to this impulsive structure because this is the wave one that matters to us right here, not this one, but it may offer us some structural support. So let me go down. I go down to 1 hour here. Let me get this opened up a bit so we can see it better. Let's move this up. All right, so here's the one that matters relative to this 1, 2, 3. But this is just here offering a little, potentially, some resistance. So in us looking for that 4, ideally we'd be looking for it around the 38. We also have this little area of congestion here, which likely to offer some resistance on the way up here. So this little pocket here, so we've got kind of a nice little hot box here. So if I pull this over, we know it wouldn't be uncommon to go up to the 50, but we're looking for it at the 38 in conjunction with this structural resistance. So the anticipation would be we push up here and then head down again. Now let's stop that there. If we were to go to algo target, let's look at that measure. So if I take the length now of what would be, let's see. So we'd have to look at, I got to back up. Sorry guys, hang on a second. I got to pull out a little bit. I don't think I can get it all here on a 1 hour. Maybe I can. Let's reset. All right, I can do it this way. Okay, here's the point I'm trying to make. So we have to look at the length of 1 relative to where this would be finishing. So if we finish here, that's gonna. So then we're looking. So we'd have to do it this way, right? So I'm hypothetical. So we'd be taking. If we were to pivot here for our third and we're going up into this range here, well, we'd have to be very careful that fifth wave not exceed 100% the length of the third. Now again, I don't know the length of the third just yet. Right now it's just still, damn it, let's go to a 2 hour. It's still just hypothetical here. So if we were to finish here for the 3, then again, I don't know where the 4 is, right? So I'm just hypothesizing here that the expectation is if we get the larger degree 4, we got to pay attention to where that 5 comes in because it can't be longer than the third, right? And here would be 100% of it. So this is a reasonable scenario, potential roadmap for us to finish. And you see it here in yellow, be 3 into the 4, then down for the 5. That puts us, we're pushing, under $2. Well, here's $2 here. So we'd be looking, if this roadmap is going to play, we'd be looking for the next significant pivot to finish this whole thing. So putting it all back together, this whole thing from the B high here, finishing down, approaching $2. Right. So if you're a bag holder and you're long EOS, I know that's not the ideal news you'd like to see. Now, keep in mind that this I could have this all wrong. This could be our pivot. We could be going higher. Just the odds don't suggest that. So it would take, so how would we know that this is wrong? Well, it's going to take a couple of things. So first thing, let me clean this up. If this is going to, if we're going to break higher, and let's get this out of here, and this is all going to start to break from here. If this is where our low. All right, well, we got to get through all of this resistance here. That's how we know we've got something meaningful started. Again, all I'm doing is taking the most recent dominant pivot to wherever the pivot low ends up. If it's down here, if this ends up being our pivot, we've got all of this to work through. Right, this is going to be significant. That 50 will be significant. This will be equally so. Right, as algos will be set up. Right, there's no question what's going to happen there. Doesn't mean we can't get through it, but anticipate a reaction there. Right, same here. We get through it, and now now we're relabeling down here, saying, okay, I've got something wrong. Something is wrong. How do I get this to be a pivot? Well, I can sort of look at it here, and we may have to recount some of this, but we're getting ahead of ourselves, right? So right now, looks to me like it's 4.5, 4.5, right? Lower prices until proven otherwise. I've got to have evidence to support the contrary to that right now. So what would be the first break in that? If we were to get up here and get, so even just the point of control, getting on the other side of the point of control would be a tell. Breaking this wave 2 would be a significant tell, meaning we're not going down one more in 5. So I got to squeeze the 5. Could I get the 5 here? Probably squeeze that out of there. I don't love it, but then, the whole thing is going to have to be relabeled. So I'm not ready to go there yet. So let's one thing at a time. Let's see what happens at the first 38. Let's see what happens when we come and challenge this pivot here. And do we roll over and head down, at least complete the 5 wave structure here? If we complete that 5, again, then what happens for the next 4? Right? So I see a lot more downside here rather than upside. So if you're bullish, boy, I can't come up with a good reason to give you something there to lean into to buy it, other than what we looked at first, which is, well, we are sitting at the 786. We are sitting at this yellow line being prior resistance. I suppose you could take a long there with a stop under the low. I mean, very little. What are you risking? 40 cents, right? So very low risk trade if you're just anxious to get long in EOS to the dollar. But, as long as you keep a tight stop on that, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. It may go. At least maybe you get up here. So, you might get a little bit of a scalp out of that. There might be a little day trade there. But in terms of the longer term swing trade, I just don't think we're there yet. All right, guys, let's wrap there on that one. Just a reminder, give us a follow over on Twitter, where we do polling like this all the time. We really try and engage you over there and let you guys contribute and give us input and feedback and assets you'd like to see reviewed. So you can find us over on Twitter at TradeDevils.com. You can always visit our website. That's TradeDevils.com. What did I say? Twitter? No, on Twitter, our handle is TradeDevils. Website is TradeDevils.com. You can learn all about it. Don't forget about our contest where we're giving away a couple of months of membership. That's still going on, so you can enter that. You can learn more about it over on Twitter. Okay, guys, back to you later.